Okay, so this project here is called Titan's Grave. It is a spiritual successor to the Walk of the Titans, which is a previous project I had. But putting the whole story and just the plot of everything aside, this project here was about experimenting with low poly modeling and, of course, getting more familiar with Unity. Now, I've always been really interested in low poly modeling because it's such a difference in comparison to what I've really seen while I've been learning how to model and everything, where you have these really nicely detailed, just intricate models, and then you have these low poly, these minimalistic looking models, and they just look so clean and simple, yet somewhat erratic based on how they're very fractal looking because the models are triangulated randomly, things like that. It really piqued my interest. So I dedicated this whole project to learning low poly modeling. So I have three biomes, I guess you could say, three environments. We have a desert scene here, a winter scene, and a jungle scene. Now, at first I thought low poly modeling would be fairly easy to do, and I could just churn out a bunch of models for every environment, have a really nice looking low poly environment. And of course there were issues and problems that I found along the way, as well as time constraints. I only had like 2 or 3 weeks to work on this, and along with all the other projects I've been working on. So I didn't have a whole lot of time to dedicate to this, as well as a whole lot of previous experience working with low poly models. The main thing with low poly modeling was how to unwrap the model, because the geometry of the model is quite erratic, and there's no simple way, there's no edge loops or anything like that. So how would you unwrap, how would you make something like that into a 2D projection? So there was a lot of finessing with that, and I got a pretty decent workflow eventually. Now, in this desert scene, we have these safari looking, these flat, very wide trees. We got cacti, we got this dead grass. We have these random stones that are part of the sort of light mythos, I guess you could say, of the whole Titans and the city that came before them, all this jazz. But anyway, let's go on to the winter scene here. In the winter scene, there's one particular thing, which was the water. The water is really realistic. This is the time when I was experimenting with the DirectX 11 shaders. So this water is tessellated, it is 3D, it has, elevation to it. And I thought at the time, this could really nicely accent the minimalistic design of the rest of the environment. And looking back at it now, and having seen how other people handle low poly water as well, I really wish I would have used a very triangulated water, low poly water as well. Another thing is with these trees, you can see the textures are really blurry because I used really low resolution, like crazy low resolution textures, like maybe like less than 200 by 200 pixels. And it produced these really blurry, I mean it works, you can tell these are snowy evergreen trees. But what I wish I did differently was have a high resolution texture, and instead of having this blurry thing, have each face have its own sort of, instead of having a blurry white, it would be a face would have a white texture. It almost looked like it'd have a separate material to it, but it would have clean lines for each face where the snow would be. That's something I wish I would have done differently. Other than that, I really, the the terrains in Unity were quite finicky as well. I was trying to get a low poly terrain to work as well, and I can't. It was quite confusing when I was working with it, but I think I had to use a low resolution texture to get the low resolution shape somehow. And so that's why I started using the low resolution textures on the trees and other objects as well. Now, moving on to the jungle scene here, this is probably one of the most lush or most filled looking environments, in my opinion at least. We have a lot of bushes and other types of trees. We got like butterflies and other birds flying around. So it looks this one looks the best in my opinion. Mainly because at this point, I'm already kind of familiar with the whole low poly thing. I knew where I wanted things to go, the whole design of the layout of the map and the environment, and everything just came together real swimmingly. Everything just flowed together real nicely, and I just had a ton of fun before I had to hand it in to my professor. So yeah, I think that's everything. Thanks for watching, guys. I appreciate it.